Righto guys, welcome back. This is the seventh video in our little series on introducing surds. In this one we're going to look at adding and subtracting surds. So there's a couple of rules for this. I've written up a few rules just so you can scribble down some notes on this. You can pause the video maybe if you need to, just to get the notes down. When we're adding and subtracting surds, remember, always simplify surds. Simplify first all the time. You see a surd, what are you thinking? Square numbers, square numbers, square numbers, square numbers. Can I simplify this? So whenever you can, you simplify surds first, okay? And then we can only add or subtract like surds. So two surds are like if they've got the same thing underneath the square root sign. So we're going to see an example with this coming up. So you have to have the same things under the square root signs for you to be able to add or subtract, okay? Now remember, we're only looking at addition and subtraction, not multiplication and division in this video. So when we're adding or subtracting, we can only do that with like. So it's just like with algebra. We can only add or subtract like terms. It's the same thing with surds, okay? It works exactly the same way. With like surds, so when we're working with like surds, we only add or subtract the coefficients. So coefficient, mathematicians love fancy names for simple ideas so they can make themselves look and sound smart. The coefficient just means the number in front of, mathematically, right? So the number in front of. So we see the same thing with the algebra. If I talk about 4x plus 5x, well, I just add the 4 and the 5. 4x plus 5x is 9x. I just add the coefficients. It's exactly the same thing with like surds. And we're going to see this in the examples we're just about to look at. Let's get stuck into those. So look at this, root 5 plus root 3. Well, remember, I can only add or subtract like surds. Are these like? No, they're not. They're not like surds. I can't add or subtract them. I can't simplify them. I can't. There's no square number that goes into 5 or that goes into 3. There's nothing I can do with these. Root 5 plus root 3 is just root 5 plus root 3. That's it. There's nothing more I can do. Okay. What about over here? 5 root 2 plus 7 root 2. Well, they're like surds. They both got a root 2. Okay. So that means I can add them. And when I'm adding or subtracting like surds, well, then I just add or subtract the coefficients. So when I do this addition, nothing happens to the root 2. Nothing happens to the root. It doesn't become root 4 or anything like that. Nothing happens to the root 2. It's just the coefficients that get added or subtracted. It's a very common mistake lots of people make. Nothing happens under the square root sign when we're adding or subtracting. Okay, so let's have a look. So if nothing happens under the square root, what happens out the front? Well, the 5 and the 7 get added. So 5 plus 7 is 12 root 2. Okay, so we've added those two surds. What about an example number 3? Just waiting for some of the background noise to sort itself out. I'm working from home, guys. You're going to have to expect this, okay? So let's have a look at question 3. Now remember, whenever I look at a question involving surds, what am I always thinking? Always in the back of my mind. Square numbers, square numbers, square numbers, square numbers. Look at that root 8. Is there a square number that goes into 8? Well, yes, there is. 4 goes into 8. So this question really is 3 times the square root of 4 times 2, because 8 is 4 times 2, minus 2 root 2. So what's the square root of 4? Well, the square root of 4 is 2. So this says 3 times 2 root 2. Well, this is 6 root 2. 6 root 2 minus 2 root 2. Well, they're like now. Root 2 and root 2, they're like surds. 6 root 2, take away 2 root 2, leaves me with 4 root 2. And that's my answer. Okay? That's it for this video, guys. That's adding and subtracting surds. They're the only principles that you need to apply. Don't panic, you'll be just fine, okay? There's lots of smarts up there, I know there is. what have we got? 3 more videos coming out in the series, and the last video is just going to be me telling you about 2 other videos. So we're almost there. Hang on.